There we go, son. If you clicked on this video, then you're probably wanting to know which Penn spinning reel is the best choice for you. So I brought out all my reels, and we're going to talk about them from the Pursuit 2 all the way up through the Penn Torque. This isn't going to be the kind of review where I go through all the technical specs of each reel in every class. That would take hours. This review is going to be more along the lines of what makes the Penn Fierce 2 different from the Penn Battle 2, why you should buy the Slammer 3 or you should buy the Conflict 2, what makes them different, and is it worth that extra money to spend to get that next reel. Alright, before we get started though, I'm going to be giving away this Penn Conflict II 3000 reel. I've only had it for about 2 months, minimal wear on it. If you want this reel to be yours, watch the video to the end, I'll let you know how. Alright, we'll start with the Penn Pursuit 2. This is like Penn's starting point. It's their lowest level spinning reel that they make. What does it come with? You get a felt drag system, you get a couple of shielded ball bearings inside of it, not very many. It's made out of graphite and a lot of plastic. I don't personally own this reel, and that's because it's pretty cheap. It doesn't really fill a need for me like this next reel coming up. Next up, we got the Penn Fierce 2. This is what I would consider the baseline of Penn's quality reels. I wouldn't buy the Pursuit 2, but I would buy this reel, and I have multiple times. I'll get into that later. What you get with this reel, you get a metal frame, you get shielded bearings on the inside, and a felt drag system. Cons to this reel, it's a plastic rotor, but that may not be a big deal to you. Next on the list, Penn Battle 2. All right, how's it different than the Fierce 2? All right, starting with the body, the frame is the same metal frame. You get a full metal rotor, so it's a stronger reel. What else do you get? You get sealed bearings on the inside, but let me be clear, this is not a waterproof reel. If you dunk this reel in salt water or the Fierce 2 and you don't clean it immediately, the reels are gonna seize. Trust me, I've done it before. Next, what you get that's different than the Fierce, there's like one more ball bearing. That doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is how smooth the reel is. And honestly, I can't really tell a difference between the smoothness of a Fierce 2 and a Battle 2. And when you add components to a reel, it can also hurt you in the long run, because that's one more thing that can fail on that reel. Big difference between the Battle 2 and the Fierce 2 is you have the HT100 drag system. It's keyed carbon drag washers. So it is a big upgrade from the Fierce. The difference between felt washers and carbon washers is pretty big. Now we get to the Spin Fisher. This reel is only like $20–25 more than the Battle 2, and it's a significant upgrade from the Battle 2 with only one real downside. It's a little bit on the heavy side compared to the Battle 2, and it's definitely heavier than the Conflict 2. What you get? All metal body. You get the Slammer drag system. How that's different than the regular HT100 is it's a sealed drag, and the reel itself is fully sealed. So you can dump this out of your kayak and submerge it. As long as you don't leave it in the water for an obnoxious amount of time, you can pull this bad boy out of the water, rinse it off real quick, and then you're good to go. It's watertight. You can't reel this underwater because water will get inside of it. One downside to a sealed reel is if water gets inside of it, it's not going to be able to get out of it. So if you do dunk this reel, make sure that you take it out, shake it off, rinse it off, whatever. Don't reel this underwater. You can't do that. You can with a Slammer 3, and I'll tell you about that later, but this reel you can't do that. And you also have a pretty good amount more drag than you do on the Battle 2. So for that, $25, and I see these reels go on sale on Amazon all the time. Like recently in the last 2 weeks, I think that they had the 3500 size reel for $99, which is about the same price as the Battle 2. Getting on to the Conflict 2. This is a relatively new reel for Penn, and it's pretty unique compared to the other reels in the lineup. The biggest thing, and the thing that you probably have heard about this reel, is that it's light, and it is very light, and that's because of the RR30 compound that this reel is made out of. It's like their proprietary blend of carbon fiber. The frame and the rotor are both made out of that. What else do you get? Aluminum handle. It's got this cool carbon fiber insert on it. EVA handle. Same slammer drag. Aesthetically, I think this is a really cool looking reel. That really shouldn't matter that much to you though, but if it does, it's a good reel for you to get. How this is a step backwards from the Spinfisher. This is not a sealed reel. If you submerge this in salt water and you don't clean it right away, it will seize on you. Another big difference between this and the Spinfisher, an increase in quality, is it has CNC gears on it, which means that the quality of the machining process that they did makes the tolerances tighter on the gears. What that means to you is it should be a smoother reel, and then it also should transmit more torque from you twisting that handle and turning that rotor and help you get more line in. To me, not much difference between even the Battle II and the Conflict II as far as that goes. And now we get to the Clash. I don't own this reel, and there's a few reasons why. I'll let you know once we get into who I would recommend these reels for or whatnot. How's the Clash different than the Conflict II? It's all metal, same CNC gears, same drag system, but it's heavier. So I think that the Clash is kind of a holdover from their old lineup. When the original Conflict series came out, it was a heavier reel than the Conflict II is now. So I think that by putting out that Conflict II at that lower weight, they're gonna hurt Clash sales because it's not much of a different reel except for that it's all metal. So it will be stronger. You can fight bigger game fish on there for sure, but if that's not what you do, then there's really not much difference between the Clash and the Conflict II. Aside from that, it's all metal. It is not a sealed reel again. So Spinfisher sealed, Conflict II is not, Clash is not a sealed reel. On their website, it says it has 8 sealed bearings, but it's probably the same bearings that are in the freaking Battle II or similar. I don't really know, but not a watertight reel. All right, going down the line, Slammer 3. How's this reel different than the Clash? All right, so you have the DuraDrag system, which is a sealed drag. It's the same type of drag that's in the Penn International conventional reels, the big reels that they use offshore for like tuna. It's got a lot of drag pressure in it too, like significantly more than all the other reels down the line. You get the IPX6 water sealing system on it. You can actually put this reel underwater and reel it underwater. Water will not get inside of it. And then inside the reel is the CNC gears, but you got a lot of brass components in there, so really high quality, corrosion resistant components on the inside. And the next reel up, and it's the last one in their series, is the Torque. I don't own this reel, and I will probably never own this reel, and I can't give you a proper review on it because I don't even personally know anybody who has one. I've never even seen one in a store before. And the reason I think that is they're making that like their super high-end reel, and it looks very similar to Van Staal reels, the all-metal reels. The reason I don't own this reel is it's $800, and if I'm gonna spend, and that's for the 5500, which is the smallest one of that type of the Torque 5500 is the smallest one, and it just gets higher from there. So $800 for that 5500. If I'm gonna spend $800 on a fishing reel, I'm gonna save up that little bit of extra cash, and I'm gonna buy the be-all end-all holy grail fishing reel, and that's the Shimano Stella. So there you have it. That's my opinion on that. If you don't agree with me, or it's the best reel in the world and I don't know why, just let me know. Talk about it. So there you go. That's a little bit about all the reels, and I tried to be as objective as possible in that, not give you my opinions on it, even though it's hard not to. That's just bare bones facts about all those reels. I could be slightly off on the details of those reels, but as far as the depth of knowledge that I need to know as far as influencing my decision to purchase those reels, that's about all I care about. Line capacity, you can read it on the box. Drag capacity, honestly, that's just a relative number, because it comes down to it like useful drag, honestly, because if you set full drag on a pin slammer and you're fishing for speckled trout, you're gonna rip that fish's face off, all right? So you don't need, 15 pounds of drag out of a size 3,000 reel, especially if you're fishing from a kayak or a boat. You can go chase them down. Now, if you're fishing on the rocks or kayak on structure, boat on structure, and you need to pull that fish up really, really quickly, or else he can get tangled up or whatever, that's a good reason to have a higher drag. But those numbers, as far as like the sales of the reel, it's all relative to me. Like, all that I know is that the Battle has more than the Fierce, and the Conflict has more than the Spin Fisher, and so forth up. Like, I don't really care if that reel has like 45 pounds of drag. It's not a useful number to me. What is useful is, am I able to get done what I need to get done? And same thing goes for weight. The Conflict is light, but I'm gonna throw the Spin Fisher at the jetties with a big old 3-ounce metal spoon on it all day. So the benefit that the Spin Fisher gives me justifies the need for me to throw that heavier reel. All right, so that's pretty much into the specs. So now let's get into each reel. I'll go back through them and I'll tell you who I think it's a good reel for, would I recommend it. All right, back at the Fierce. This reel's value comes from the fact that it's a cheap reel. If you are just getting into fishing and you are confused about, Penn spinning reels, are they right for you or whatever, start with the Fierce, man. I'm telling you, it's just as capable as a Battle II. And just to illustrate that point, and this is my opinion, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these bad boys, all right? I only have 1 Battle II. I used to have 6 of them, and I sold them all. My whole surf rig was all Battle IIs, and I sold them all. Why? Qualities that I needed from that reel, the Fierce does it for me. So I sold all my Battle IIs, and I kept 1, and the reason why is because of that metal rotor on the Battle II. Just jumping in, Battle II. It's got that metal rotor on it, so it's a stronger reel. So if you're fighting bull reds consistently, or if you're taking it offshore for some bigger game, like on the bigger size Battle IIs, you can land some big fish, man, like king mackerel, cobia. But that's not to say you can land them on a Fierce, man. Don't let that cheap price point of the Penn Fierce sway you from giving it a shot, because a lot of those numbers, man, like drag, weight, it's all hype, man. It's marketing. So I probably won't buy any more Battle IIs ever again, and that's because of the next reel, and that's the Penn Spin Fisher. This reel, I think it's the best value reel that Penn has in their lineup, and I would put it up against just about any reel. I'm talking any reel. The Torque, the Slammer 3, whatever. And the reason why, it's a watertight reel, and it has a lot of drag on it also. If you put these reels side by side, and like the Slammer and the Spin Fisher, you're gonna see that the drag capacity is higher on the Slammer for sure, but it's relative, man. Set 45 pounds of drag and fight a cobia. It's gonna pull the rod out of your hand, man. Somebody might be able to, and it's cheap, man. The Spin Fisher's cheap. I see these reels on sale all the time, so around $100, $100 to $200, even for like the very big size ones. You're getting a whole lot of reel for your money. You can dump them out of a kayak, you can surf fish them, And they also come in a lot of options. So you got the 3,500, 4,500, 5,500, all the way up to, there's a big one, 10,500 or even 12,500. I'm not sure, way bigger than I ever need. But they also have them in live liners, and they have them in the long cast version, which is like a bigger spool, and supposedly you can cast it way far. Not my cup of tea, but it's there if you needed it. Moving up to the Conflict II. This reel disappointed me, and it also surprised me. I know that's contradictory. I said earlier there's only one application where this reel I think really shines, and that's if you are throwing artificial lures, and that's pretty much all that you do exclusively, and you're fighting smaller class fish. I can't speak for the big sizes like the 6,000. I'm not sure if that's the biggest one they make, but whatever, the bigger size reels. If you're throwing soft plastics like all day over and over and over and over and over again, and you're not going to get this reel wet, this is a fantastic reel for that. I wouldn't recommend it for anything else though, man. If there's even a possibility that you can get this reel wet, I would tell you to use the spin fisher instead. Also, if you're going to take this to a place where there's the potential for you to catch big game, like a jack, like me, I hooked up on a big jack crevalle with this reel, and the RR30 was not strong enough to stick up to the drag pressure that this reel puts out. So the reel was actually bending in my hand, which changed the way that the gears lined up, and it binded up the reel. So I physically could not turn that rotor, and it basically made the reel useless. But that's about all I gotta say about that. All right, going up to the Clash. I think that the Clash had a very good spot before the Conflict II came out. I think I already said that. But now I think it's in like this weird kind of place where it's not a sealed reel. It's still really expensive, you know, but you have the Conflict II that's light, and it's pretty much the same reel, just a little bit less, you know, like strength-wise, because it's not all metal. So I don't know, if you have it and you think it's the best reel ever, like, let me know. But in my mind, it's pretty much just like a you know, a souped up Battle 2. You know, the CNC gears, that doesn't really matter to me because I can't really tell the difference. And then that super high drag, like I said, I don't set that high drag like ever. The only time I ever use high drag like that is if I'm fishing at the jetties, or I'm fishing, pulling up snapper off a wreck or something like that, which is few and far between for me. But if that's your style, you might want to consider getting that reel. Moving on, if you think that you are going to be in an environment where you're going to get that reel wet, specifically on the jetty, or if you're fishing from a boat and you're getting splashed a lot, I would recommend the Slammer. So Slammer 3. Who would I recommend buy the Slammer 3? I didn't buy this reel for the longest time. I actually just got it for my birthday, and to be totally honest with you, the reason why I did is it was on sale at Amazon for $204. Check it, it may still be like that now. Then I took that price, went to Academy Sports, they matched it and gave me 5% off less, and I took advantage of their military discount, and was 10%. So I actually ended up getting this reel for about $100 less than retail. I wouldn't pay the $270 retail for this reel. I would just throw spin fishers all day, and I would still recommend the spin fisher over this reel, except in a few occasions. That's if you're fishing the jetties and like you're die hard about it, like that's your thing. You go to the jetty and you're getting splashed all the time and you're catching monster fish. If you're not doing that, if you're going to the jetty on a calm day and you're not taking on water, the spin fisher will serve you well. Another application is if you are going offshore on a boat and you're getting splashed all the time, and you need to use the high drag capacity of this reel to winch up some big fish up off structure, like amberjack or big snapper, grouper, something like that. Another thing is East Coast for striped bass. If you're sitting up on some rocks out on a beach and you're getting splashed, and you know you might slip off that rock and have to reel up a fish, you know. in the Pacific, if you're fighting GTs on rocks, getting splashed, that you get my drift. Like this Slammer 3 is for hardcore dudes. If you are fighting, you know, a popping cork for speckled trout and redfish, and you have a Slammer 3, that's not the reel for you, man. If you just want it, that's cool, but you could do the same thing with a Penn spin fisher for the watertight integrity, or even for a fierce if you're not going to get that reel wet. Now I get it that, you know, it's a cool looking reel and I want one, man, but at the same time, if that's influencing your decision, like, well, should I buy that because it's the best one, like, you don't need it. You don't need it. And that even goes more so with the Penn Torque. I just don't see a value for that reel other than the fact that you could say that you have it, because a Slammer is going to perform just as well, you know, as a Torque in my mind, or even a Stella in my mind. Like, you don't need it. This is my opinion. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully that was helpful for you. I know I personally spent a lot of money and time trying to figure out which one of these reels would be the best one for me. At one point I had like all Battle 2s, and then I sold them, and now most of my reels are Penn Fierce. Get into the Conflict 2. If you want this reel, I just got a few things to ask of you. One is subscribe to our channel. We got a lot of other cool content, man, and we're always trying to make cool videos, and you know, we're pretty new in this channel and we're learning, you know, so let us know what do you want to see. Like, you want to see more kayak fishing, you want to see more fishing at the jetties, just let us know. And then hit the like button and then comment. How I'm going to select you for this reel is by the comments, so just leave something down there. Say, hey man, nice video, that was cool. And, you know, and it could be negative feedback too, like your lighting sucked or you talk too much, whatever, you know, let us know. Once I get to 1,000 comments, if I get 1,000 comments within 3 months, I'm going to use a random number generator, select a number, I'm going to go through those comments, and then I'm going to pick that number. And then if that's you, I'm going to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you are, and I'll get in contact with you, and boom, this reel is yours. So, you know, share it. The more comments that we get faster, the faster, you know, this reel could be yours. So thank you for watching, and tight lines out there.